How does Reformation lead to globalization? Reformation is the action or process of reforming an institute or practice. In the times when the Catholic Church was in power, everyone needed to listen to whatever the Church and the Pope told them. The commoners of that time didn't have minds of their own to decide whether the Church was right or wrong. However, one man by the name of Martin Luther saw that what the Church had been doing was very, very wrong, and that you didn't need to pay to be saved. You needed to follow the Bible. He wrote 95 theses about his views on the Church's power. The minds of people made progress, from not having individual ideas during the Reformation to a rebirth of knowledge during the Renaissance. Renaissance is the revival of art and literature under the influence of the classical models in the 14th to 16th centuries. This time period sparked a new wave of people who would influence the world. These people were artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, who made people start to think more and more for themselves. These artists sparked new ideas in other people's minds. One of those people was Christopher Columbus, who had the idea that the world was not flat, but that it was round, and he would find a faster way of getting to India if he traveled west. Columbus was a prime example of the rebirth of thinking which led to his exploration and exploration of others. Exploration is the action of traveling in or through an unfamiliar area to learn about it. When Christopher Columbus sailed in 1492 to explore the world, he did in fact find land. He and his crew discovered America. They had intruded the indigenous people's land. But because explorers needed people to work who weren't the natives, they brought in slaves from Africa while they were at war. Slaves had to be taken by the foreigners. They traveled through the Middle Passage, which was a route that the traders used to transport their slaves to work or to be bought. Trade merchants had treated the African slaves like merchandise. They gave them as little food as possible, and if they had gotten sick, they chained them to rocks and threw them overboard. Slavery took away people's rights, which led to the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution was the start of a time of new thinking. Many people contributed to the new ideas brought up during this time period. Thomas Hobbes and John Locke were philosophers that brought up their ideas on the way government was run. Hobbes believed that absolute power was needed to run a society. Locke believed that every person had natural rights that they were born into. Another man who influenced the Cultural Revolution was William Shakespeare. He was a master of the English language, and his work opened the minds of his audiences. Because his work had been so inspirational, people learned to be more like him and speak their mind. Now, people left their land if they didn't like the way society was and went on exploring new lands and new places. The scientific revolution tested the beliefs of the church and proven facts. People that contributed to these facts included Ptolemy, who created a model of the universe which displayed where all the planets were, and so forth. Galileo, who made remarkable discoveries including mathematics. He also observed the moons and planets. And lastly, Newton, who came up with the universal law of gravitation and had invented balance scales. The church and the facts of science contradicted each other. This led to Enlightenment, which was a philosophical revolution. The Enlightenment was a European intellectual movement that emphasized reasoning rather than tradition. The church continued to have control, but by this point in time, the people could think on their own and outside the box. They refused to follow the church's way and protested and raised awareness to others that freedom and power could be achieved. 3 writers named Montesquieu, Voltaire, and Diderot wrote books about the government and how they shouldn't be in power, and how there should be a separation of powers. Instead of the church having all the power was given to the people. Enlightenment led the people to believe in freedom of speech, equality before the law, freedom of religion, freedom of press, the right to assemble, hold property, and to pursue happiness. New reasonings and thinkings related to the ways of government led to the political revolution. The political revolution was a time of conflict and war that led to the independence of different nations, such as America and France. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence formally began the American Revolution. America wanted to separate from Britain, and they were willing to fight for their right to be free. So the 7-Year War took place. As a result of the war and the British defeat, America finally separated from Britain. Now that America was free from Britain, they set up a constitution and Bill of Rights to give freedom to their people. Because the political revolution was a time of conflict and war, societies had to be prepared with defense and transportation, leading to the development of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is a rapid development of industry brought about by the introduction of machinery. Employers realized that they needed a faster way of creating their products, which led to mass production. In order for this to work, factories were created to increase labor. The laborers were the slaves or common people. You need land to house the labor and products. With all of this, you end up with a capital or wealth in the form of money or other assets owned by a person or organization. Inventors blossomed during this time period to benefit their economy. Robert Fulton created the first paddle-wheel steamboat, James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny which helped to spin cotton faster, and Richard Trevithick built the first steam locomotive to help with railroad. The inventions of modern technology soon overpowered the ways of the indigenous people. Imperialism is merely the power of one country taking over another country. The influence of one country can forever change an indigenous race. This relates to the United States and Hawaii. It wasn't long before Hawaii was transformed into a product of the United States. The United States took over the Hawaiian land, and that was it. Before the Hawaiians flourished, speaking their native tongue and practicing their unique culture. Now they are speaking with the English language. Because the foreigners believed in one God, that is what the Hawaiians began to believe in as well. They no longer looked to their many gods Ku, Lono, Kanaloa, and Kane. Globalization is the shrinking of the world.